I guess I'll go ahead and get into it. So told you guys my name's Elizabeth. I'm 34. I just turned 34 a couple weeks ago. I live in Greenville, South Carolina right now. I've lived here for going on 8 years. I'm originally from East Tennessee, though. So I guess just to give a brief overview of my history, I'm the oldest of three children. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. My parents, they're still married. Everyone lives back in Knoxville, where I'm from originally. I'm the only one that's moved away. But my family and I were very close. I've always been close with my family, even though there have been issues. We're just very tight knit. I talk to my mom every day. I usually talk to my sister every day. Um, Probably drives my husband nuts, but is what it is. Um, I had a very normal childhood. You know, Probably towards upper middle class. My parents, I never saw my parents fight with each other, maybe a couple times. That just, wasn't a big deal. That wasn't a thing in our house. Now, me and my mother argued a whole lot, but I never saw my parents, um, given every opportunity, everything that we, could have wanted, vacations, extracurricular activities, all kinds of stuff. I I had a wonderful childhood. But I can tell you from a very early age, and I mean, I'm talking like, 6 or 7 years old, I just felt this emptiness in me. On the outside, I had all these things, anything I could want, and a loving family and siblings and friends. And, I did well in school and all this stuff. But like, I just always struggled. I could never seem to find where I truly felt I fit in. Um, I wasn't good at sports. Um, I preferred, more of the arts, and things like that. But it was just really hard for me to feel this idea of fitting in, and just constantly felt this emptiness, which I can, look back now and see where that's just kind of started things. Um, and I was actually diagnosed with depression when I was like 8 years old. Um, I don't really remember a lot of the testing or anything like that, but I remember being put on a low dose antidepressant before they found out that you really should do that with children. But, you know, it seemed to help. But I can remember I was 8 and I had my tonsils out. I had my tonsils and adenoids taken out and stuff. And I remember I was given pain medicine. And I can remember from 8 years old loving that stuff, just loving it. I could not wait for my mom to give me another dose. I could not wait to start feeling happy and energetic. I'd run around like it was the best thing ever. At 8 years old, I connected those things. So, just kind of move through life. I will say, both sides of my family, there is a huge genetic component of addiction and alcoholism. I grew up with a grandmother that was an alcoholic until I was about 12 years old. Um, it's funny because, my grandmother always had a drink in her hand, like always. My parents do not drink, but my grandmother did. And I did not know until I got to high school that you could not drive and have an open container of alcohol. I thought that's just what adults did because that's what my grandmother did. My grandmother drove us with an alcoholic beverage every day. And I thought that was normal. I thought that's what adults did. I had no idea it was against the law or there was a problem with it or anything. Um, and then my dad's side of the family, I've lost some cousins to addiction. I have some that are still in active addiction. It runs on both sides. Um, and, it doesn't matter. I realized how stable your home life is or how many opportunities you're given, that genetic predisposition can still be there. So, you know, went through teenage years. I was diagnosed with some foot issues that needed to be surgically repaired. And so I had those done, given more pain medicine, um, just kind of still trying to figure out what was missing from my life, why I felt this emptiness every day. And when I was 15 years old, had my first drink. My friends, it was just kind of a partying thing, and it was that same kind of thing a lot of people talk about. They take that first sip and they realize this is it. This is what I've been missing. And for me, it was definitely that. So went through high school, just kind of the typical partying. I was always the fun one because I had all these leftover pain medications from all my surgeries on my feet, and my parents, they didn't think anything about it. I was 16, 17, and they just say, well, you know how to read a prescription bottle. Like, you can take care of your own medicine. We don't need to monitor this or anything. And my mom is a medication hoarder. I think she has antibiotics from like 1999, probably. So, I was always the fun one. People, wanted to come hang out with me because I had, party favors. So, I moved on, moved to college, um, typical partying, all that fun stuff. And then I started really getting into more serious drugs, harder drugs, because I finally felt like this hole was like it was getting filled. And for me, it was the drugs that was filling it, specifically opiates. Um, Opioids are without a doubt my drug of choice, above anything else. Um, I've done a bunch of other ones, but they are by far the biggest one for me. Um, I just felt complete when I used. And when I went to college, I started dating a guy who, him and his friends, they had connections, they used regularly, and I thought, this is it. This is what I need. So I decided to enroll in nursing school where I was at, and very quickly, my addiction just got out of control. Ended up getting kicked out of nursing school. Yay. And because I was failing all my classes, and just I, I was like 19 or 20 years old, and I just felt so invincible. I felt like, oh, who cares if I get kicked out of nursing school? Who cares if, my parents don't want me in their house? Like, I'll figure it out. As long as I had drugs, as long as I had alcohol, and I had someone to, you know, help me out with all that in any way possible, then I was good. So the first time I came into recovery, I was actually 21. By that point, things, I was spiraling so hard out of control. Um, I was going to be homeless. My parents, you know, they said, we're done. We can't do this anymore. I know that was extremely hard for them, uh, not knowing what would happen to me, but I'm beyond grateful that they did do that. Um, so I woke up one morning, and I say this because this was the desperation that I felt at the time at 21 years old. I was about to be kicked out of another college. I was about to not have any place to live. I had alienated everyone in my life. I had debt collectors after me because I was writing bad checks and because I was doing cash advances on paychecks. I worked at Steak and Shake and made barely enough for, a couple doses a day. Like that phrase, that sick and tired of being sick and tired. Once I heard that, it was like light bulb went off because that is exactly what my life had become. And I remember waking up one morning and I just thought to myself, okay, today you have two choices. You are either going to go to the emergency room and tell them you need help, or you're going to kill yourself. These are your two options today, and those are it. And I don't know what it was that made me get up and drive with barely any gas to the emergency room, but I did. And I'd been in there before, and they had heard me talk over and over again that I was going to get clean and stuff. And so, but this time was different. So I went to treatment. I went to a 90-day treatment in Tennessee and did well. Ended up going to a halfway house after that in Knoxville. and lived there for 8 months. And that's where I really got introduced to the 12 steps. And it changed my life. I had tried going to psychiatrists and psychologists and getting on medications. I had tried um, the medication, assistance with Suboxone. I tried, all this other stuff, and nothing ever seemed to stick because I was just so focused on so many other things. I had so many resentments. I had so much anger. I had so much disappointment. None of that was going to help with that. And I had absolutely no higher power. I had absolutely none. Um, just due to things that had happened as a teenager. And I was lost. I was just absolutely lost. And for me, finding the 12 steps in NA and AA and actually working them and doing them, it it was finally like I'd found my way. So I actually ended up going back when I had a year clean. I ended up going back and working at that treatment center. They'd asked me if I wanted a job, and I said sure. And I fell in love with working in substance abuse treatment. So I ended up going back to school, got a degree in psychology, and decided I was going to be an alcohol and drug counselor. In this time, I met my husband. I We ended up both we graduated UT, we got married, and then we moved. My husband's job, I knew when I signed up for marrying him that his job was always going to take us away, more than likely. And so we ended up in Greenville, South Carolina. To me, that's a very important part of my story because I was so connected to my recovery system and groups in Tennessee. I worked I worked at a treatment center. I was becoming a counselor. I had a sponsor. I had sponsees. I had my home group. All of it. It was just a part of my daily or my weekly routine. These few meetings I went to every week. It was just what I did. Um, we moved here, and I didn't want to get plugged in. I didn't I didn't want to be the new girl. I didn't want to have to like tell my story and all this stuff. So I went to a couple meetings and found excuses to not go. I was newly married, trying to figure out what I was going to do for work. And then I decided to go back to nursing school. It was something that I'd always regretted not finishing. I'd always really wanted to be a nurse. So I went back to school once here, and I allowed life to take over. I was actually just reading the Just for Today meditation right before we got on here, and it was talking about priorities. I was like, how fitting, how recovery has to be a priority. And it absolutely did not once I got here. I made so many excuses for really stupid fears. Like I said, I didn't want to be this new person. I didn't want to have to introduce myself and have people get to know me. I can be quite introverted in that way, and have a lot of anxiety with it. So, I just kind of went along. Years went by. I go to a meeting here and there. I'd go to meetings back home, but I never got a new sponsor or anything like that. So, throughout this, my husband and I also decided we wanted to start a family. And we quickly found out that that was going to be really difficult. So we ended up going through infertility treatments. I did numerous rounds of IVF and other things like that. Went through a very early miscarriage, and then got told that I would not be able to have children with my own eggs. Sorry, I am a nurse. I don't care to talk about reproductive stuff or things like that. But so we moved to adoption, and we adopted our son in May of 2017. We were connected very quickly with an expectant mom. We became parents in 2 weeks. So it was quite a whirlwind, and all this in my first year of a nursing job. So, I become a new mom to a newborn baby. I was in the room. He's He was on my chest within minutes of him being born. Um, but all of that brought along a lot of stuff that I did not realize would come up. Um, a lot of guilt, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, all that kind of same stuff that I thought I had dealt with, the first time I'd gone to treatment. And I just kind of pushed it all down and thought, well, I have a psychology degree. I've done this before. Like I know what to do, but yet I'm not going to meetings. I'm not wanting to get back in recovery or anything like that because I'm too busy. So I kind of go along and the next year, I'm working on a very busy floor. And like I mentioned earlier, I have foot issues and they started coming up again. So I became I was in a lot of pain a lot of the time. And I kept kind of just pushing through it. And until one day, someone that I work with came up to me and offered me something for it. And what did I do? I reached out my hand and I took it. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even process it. Took it. And I thought, oh, I've been clean. At this point, I've been clean 10 years. Last few dry, but clean from substances for 10 years. And, I thought, oh, I've got 10 years. I'm good. I'm I'm in pain. This is legitimate. Like, I'll just take a little bit. It'll be fine. Well, guess what? The next day, I went and asked for another one. The next day, I went and asked for another one, and another one, and another one. And it wasn't long before I was right back to where I was. I was going and getting some every day. And then I just figured out how I could steal from work. And I thought, like most of us addicts do, I'm smarter than them. I have found a loophole in the system. They will not catch me. Well, they caught me. In May of 2019, a few days before my son's second birthday, I was brought in by DHEC, which is like one of the health department boards for the state of South Carolina, my hospital system, and I was confronted. I had an investigation run on me for the past month, and there was nothing I could do. I couldn't get out of this. I was backed in a corner. And that was probably one of the worst days of my entire life. Another day of contemplating, suicide. Another day of, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. So that's what led me to Pavillon. I I surrendered right then and there. I remember I was in the hallway of the nursing admin suite with my manager, and I just broke down and I said, I can't do this anymore, because being an addict is hard work. It is a lot of work, every day of where am I going to get what I need? Where am I going to get the money? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Like, and on top of having a job and being a mother and trying to keep this secret from literally everyone around me, it was hard work and I was tired. I was so tired. And every day I would drive to pick up what I needed. And I would think to myself, how am I going to get out of this? How is this going to end for me? There's no way it can end well. And I can look back now. I didn't think this the day it happened, but I can look back now and think, God, I am so glad that I got pulled into that meeting that day, and that I at least had some brain cells working to say, yeah, I need help. Please help me. And I will say I work for a great employer that said, okay, if you need help, if you want help and you're willing to do it, we're willing to help you. So I get to Pavillon. I did the full thing there. I went through primary. I went to extended care. I think it's really funny that some of the same stuff that we got told when I was there is the same. I did alumni panel not long ago, and I think there was some ramblings about like people getting paid to like talk about EC and going to EC. Like we got told all that stuff too. No, I do not get anything for saying to go to EC, but if you have the opportunity, please go. Extended care is where I truly healed, is where the therapy really occurred for me for things that I truly thought that I'd worked through, things that I had no idea were issues. It's truly what helped me. So yeah, I loved my time at Pavilion actually. uh, I know it's a lot different now with COVID than it was when I was there in 2019. But I got so much out of it, and um, they really helped me as a professional. I can't see anybody, or I don't know how many professionals are up there, but to have a professional program like that and have people that truly understand the process with licensing boards, monitoring boards, legal stuff, it's just amazing. So to kind of like keep going through, we all decided that I needed a final foot surgery to help with this chronic pain of mine. We all decided I would have it 5 days after leaving Pavilion. I don't know if we would recommend doing that again, but that's the plan that everybody came up with. And I went in thinking, I got this, I'm good. Well, I ended up taking too much of my pain medicine and had to start my sobriety all over again. And that was hard, but I had Pavilion there with me by my side, even when I kicked and screamed and was upset and didn't want to admit defeat. But, I got through it. That was a very hard time. Being isolated, I couldn't walk or drive for 8 weeks, dealing with all this mountain of stuff that I knew I was now going to have to deal with after leaving Pavilion, with my nursing license, with my job, with possible legal action, all that stuff. But I don't know, there was just something in me. I just knew that I had to keep going. Like every day, I just had to keep pushing. I Ubered to meetings. I would load myself up in my knee scooter in some random Uber driver's car and go to the noon meeting. And that was my saving grace. That the Alano Club here in Greenville has been my saving grace. They're my home. It's where my home group is. It's where I go to most of my meetings. So, they kept me going along with Pavilion. For me, it included this time being someone that relapsed, being someone that's been in the program for so long, all this stuff. I needed every tool possible. I got set up with aftercare with outpatient Pavilion. I still see Dr. Roberts as my psychiatrist. I even did Vivitrol, if anybody's considering that. It was extremely helpful for me. I did it for about a year, basically until my hips just couldn't take it anymore. But it just did, not that I needed it as a true security blanket, but just any added layer that I could have, especially in those beginning times, was so important for me. So what my life's been like since all of that, I mean, it's been amazing. I had a lot of hurdles to get through when I got out of Pavilion, not just healing physically, but I had to go up before the nursing board. They ran a full investigation on me. I had to figure out what was going to happen with my job. I had to answer to legal charges. I was actually up at Pavilion for my relapse prevention week in November of 2019 when I got a call from my DHEC investigator saying that I would indeed be arrested and that I would face charges for my diversion at work. So being sober and just being able to start walking fully, I turned myself in to jail one day. Got through all of that. I actually just had my charges expunged for that about a month or two ago. Went through a program for that. And this month, actually, I get my restrictions lifted off of my nursing license. Um, I was given a consent order that is public record. You can look, anybody can look me up and see everything that I did. It's laid out. And I was given a year probation for certain things. But I was able to keep working. I got a job in a doctor's office, which I thought I would hate. Turns out I enjoy. I don't like the schedule, but it is what it is. Um, I have to keep telling myself I have no business to have a license still. I have no business to still have a job based on everything that I had done. The people I'd put at risk, myself I'd put at risk, my employer I'd put at risk. But these people, they gave me a chance. And I mean, how do you repay that or thank people for that? I'm just so grateful and so fortunate to have, um, especially in terms of work, people that understand addiction and understand giving other chances. Um, and because I've done everything I'm supposed to, I'm now on the other side, which I never ever thought I would be. When I got to Pavilion, I thought there is no way I'm going to get through all of this. There is no way. Oh, and 2 days after my arrest, a lovely article was put in the Greenville News about me with my full mugshot, with my full name. Thankfully, I wore makeup when I turned myself in, so my mugshot actually looks pretty good. That's one thing I can say. Um, and that was hard. That was really hard. That brought up a lot of shame. That brought up a lot of guilt. A lot of stuff I had worked hard to deal with came back up because I felt like it was easy for me to go through, my own stuff and own up to what I did. But that being so public, now, people were messaging my husband and saying, I had no idea. My in-laws were getting texts like, is this your daughter-in-law? Because, we have our last name isn't very common. And that was hard, them having to deal yet again with my aftermath. And speaking of all that, I guess I didn't really discuss that. I am beyond fortunate to have such a supportive family. My parents, especially the first time I got clean, did a lot of work and a lot of education on addiction, more so than what they experienced in their own lives, but truly having a child with it. And so, when it happened again, it wasn't like, oh, okay, we'll just put her in rehab again. But they had such an understanding and were able to still step up and be there, even though they were disappointed. My husband, he's had to do a lot of his own work. He fully participated in everything at Pavilion, and it's been tough. I will say, like the past year and a half, our marriage has had a lot of issues. But we both made a decision to not give up on that, and combine a pandemic, and he works from home now, and all this stuff. But all I can do is what I need to do for my program. And COVID has changed a lot of that. I didn't realize. Oh, do I need to wrap up? Sorry, Liz.
I was just going to give you the 6-minute warning.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I'm almost done because I can get rambling. I did not realize how much I needed human connection until COVID happened. How much I need those meetings. Zoom is great. I love Zoom. I've actually really liked it since I've gotten sick. I'm able to hop on and I can, still like be here with my son and everything like that. But I also truly need that human connection, like that physical connection and seeing people face to face for my own accountability. I'm very good at putting on a good face. I'm very good at making myself look good. I guess years of theater and speech can do that. So, for me to stay accountable, like people need to see me in person. They need to be able to look in my eyes in person and, just see me face to face. And that's what's helped me so much. And I'm so thankful that we do have some meetings here that have opened back up. And um, I've stayed away for the safety of others once I got sick, but hopefully soon. But now I can't imagine my life if I continued using. I can't imagine my life if I hadn't followed this path. Um, I needed to, because I truly felt like I got this, I'm good, like I can get through life. Obviously not. Um, I'm a true addict. I'm a true person um, that requires something to fill them. And I spent a lot of time finding the wrong things to fill myself with, drugs, alcohol, relationships, shopping, whatever. And for me, the thing that has made me feel the best and be able to be the best person that I am, is the 12-step program and having a kind of higher power. And I knew I completely forgot to get into that. That's a whole other thing, but just know I've always struggled with a higher power. I still struggle with a higher power to this day. I still struggle. But the biggest thing for me is that I keep seeking. I stopped seeking and thought, well, a higher power doesn't give a crap about me. I didn't get to have a baby when I wanted. I had a miscarriage. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. It was always that. Now I've learned that, I mean, wake up, Elizabeth. Like, look at this life that you have. You say you didn't get this, that, or the other, but you have the most amazing 3-year-old boy in the other room. You have an amazing relationship with his birth mother and hopefully his birth family one day. Um, and none of that was me. None of that was me. That was my higher power, and that's where I have to continue always looking. So I'm just getting better physically, and I plan on staying at my job, even though my restrictions will be lifted. I could go back to work in the hospital, but I'm going to stay where I'm at. Um, you know, my life, it sounds so corny, but like it's incredible now. I'm about to welcome a new niece in the next week or so. And my family doesn't have to be worried if I'm messed up around her. My niece that just turned a year old will never see me hopefully messed up, has not seen me messed up. Um, to to the moms that are up there, I know it's hard. I know it is. I left my 2-year old, like I left him for 3 months. But I had to remember this is just such a small blip on the radar, like of his life. Like I'm sure he'll remember parts of it and he'll remember mommy was gone for a while. But I mean, for me, being gone for that short amount of time is it's so worth it compared to him possibly having memories of when I would take him to the drug dealer's house every day, because I did, because I was high, because I was sick, you know, being gone that small amount of time to give him a lifetime of not seeing me like that was so worth it. I know it's easy for me to say that sitting on the other side, but that's what I had to hold on to. So, for you all up there in Mill Spring, I know this is so hard. I know that it is, but damn, like I literally just took it one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. And some days I still have to do that. But, I've got the program. And as long as I stay in the program and do what I need to do, then I'll be okay. And that's it. That's all I got.